Hello, hello, hello everybody, and welcome already to qualifying here. It is sprint qualifying here for the 12th round of the season here in Tier 1, and we are at, as I'm sure you will have recognised, Suzuka here in Japan. My name is Trickiest, and I will be the only commentator joining you today, and as you can see, the qualifying session is already well underway with what is only a one-shot qualifying. The drivers did start before me here, so we're going to have to be playing a bit of catch-up now to try and figure out what's going on, but we can already see Julian seems to be picking up where he left off in first place at the moment as they head towards already into the final few corners of the lap here, but Julian... well, it looks like his controller's disconnected or something there, because he just goes straight on at Spoon, so it's going to be a terrible qualifying for Julian now, here in the one-shot quali, and that's going to leave Aero to come through the final corner, and he will take pole position then for the sprint race. AJ in the Alfa Romeo is going to take second place, only a 10th behind Aero, and then Aero's Tier 2 teammate, Saul Goodman, is going to take P3 in the Ferrari from Phil 4th, Sip at 5th, and then Maxcon and one of the AlphaTauris in 6th and 7th. From Racer, Shadow, Pablo and Julian. So qualifying immediately over. That was very short there. It's Calamity. That's sorry, no, it's Leland in 7th and then Calamity in 8th. Here we go then. Pablo is finally into the grid and misses his grid slot anyway. Well, here we go. So 3, 4, 5 red lights in Japan. And we are go for the sprint race. Who's getting a good start? It is Aero getting a great start there, but a terrible one for AJ. He's bogged down and is going to lose a place immediately to the Ferrari of Saul Goodman, and the Red Bull of Darcip are going to try and go around the outside there, but contact between the two of them. He might be able to get a switchback though yet. Banging tyres as they go into the S's here in the fight for third place, but AJ cuts across and holds on to P3. Meanwhile, Phil has dropped down to 5th and is going to be side by side now with Maxcon as they head towards turn 7. Careful through there, guys, because it is notoriously very tricky, but somehow they do both keep it clean through there, and I'm sure the fast starting Williams of Julian, who's already up into P7, is going to be looking to try and capitalise on this fight as well as they go through Degna 2 now. And yeah, Julian, brilliant start by him, already up 4 places, so can't really ask for more, but it is Aero who once again leads the way, gets a very good start to the race here. On both attempts, as in the background there, Calamity running a little bit wide, has already dropped down the order somewhat, and Pablo has, well, his bad day seems to continue to get worse. Spins on the formation lap and spins on the first lap as well, because he's way behind the rest of the field, as Phil, I saw, just running a little bit wide through Spoon there. Doesn't seem to have cost him too much time, but the car behind him of Maxcon is going to be under a lot of pressure now from Julian as they climb the rise towards 130. Julian's going to go on the grass to try and make it work around the outside. Going to try and hang it in there. The tyres aren't really good enough for that on quite high fuel here. Into the chicane, they're side by side, and there's contact between the two of them, and now between the AlphaTauri as well, who's trying to get involved here. That's Leland, and they're all 4 of them, all 5 of them going to make contact on the exit of turn 17 there, and through the final corner, diving for the pit lane is Julian immediately. He's just, well, he's had enough. He retires from the race. He's, well, he knows, I think, that there's no real recovering from that, from this point, so we'll see if he does hopefully come back for the proper race at the end of this one. But now side by side again into turn 2 here is the AlphaTauri of Maxcon getting hit by the AlphaTauri, sorry, and well, that was Leland punting the back of the Haas driver there, and off the road he goes, and now is only in P9 ahead of Pablo behind him. As chaos ensues here, and now we've got the Mercedes of Shadow running wide onto the grass on the exit of turn 7 here. Drivers very much struggling around what is one of the trickiest circuits on the calendar, as we already mentioned, and everyone seemingly having a bit of a difficult time, unfortunately, trying to keep everything clean. But the top 5 have been able to do that so far, so they are still all within closing distance of each other, I suppose you'd say. And particularly in striking distance, potentially, is going to be Phil here as he exits Spoon Curve. Still staying close to the back of Darcip ahead of him, but look how much quicker that Red Bull is in a straight line. Just pulling away there. I'm not sure if that was just through battery use or what, but either way, Darcip is going to be more than safe heading into the chicane here, and yeah, Phil is going to have to be patient and, well, I suppose try and fight that another time, but running onto the gravel a little bit on the exit of the corner there was Darcip. It's, luckily for him, doesn't seem to have compromised his exit a whole lot, because he is still clear of Phil as they head down the straight. So it is Aero still leading the way then, as they start the third lap of this sprint here, and heading into the S section now. The reserve driver for Alpine today, as doing a very solid job so far, and AJ, his, I suppose you would say, his main competition with Julian out of the running now, is seemingly struggling to keep up. Of course, of course AJ was well, he crossed the finish line first in Kota last time out, but unfortunately due to an absolute plethora of penalties was reduced and relegated all the way down to P9 in the end of things, but his pace was absolutely stellar there, so we will see if he's able to replicate anything like that here, but so far it seems to be the Portuguese driver, the Tier 2 World Champion, who has the edge over AJ in the Alfa Romeo at the moment in the fight for the top 2 places. But actually Saul Goodman seems to be... No, apologies, I thought he was closer than he was to AJ there, but he's not actually that close, so everyone seems to be spreading out just a little bit here, and AJ, I think, is now starting to reel the gap in just a little bit to Aero, so maybe I spoke too soon on that one. Just perhaps taking him a little bit longer to warm up those tyres. They are mediums, of course, so they shouldn't be too hard for the drivers to get used to. And this fight still between Phil and Darth Sippet is brewing up immediately here, because Phil completely overshot his braking zone into the chicane there and plows into the back of the Red Bull car, and now both of them way off the top 3 here, and they're still going to be fighting somehow. No change of places, and now Phil with the DRS open is going to go up the inside of what I would imagine is a very displeased Red Bull driver of Darth Sippet now into turn 2, and Phil, well, quite controversially I have to say, gets a move on and gets it up into P4 with a little bit of extra force, you might say, there. I'm sure the stewards will be keen to have a look at that one after the race, and Darth Sippet, I'm sure, will be keen to try and well, give Phil, sorry, a taste of his own medicine, but not looking too good there through the Dunlop curve at turn 7. And yeah, I wonder if there's any damage on the Red Bull. It doesn't seem to be, although well, I suppose we wouldn't be able to see it. It would all be on the diffuser, and that is notoriously very tricky to see even in real life, and to be honest, I'm not even sure that there is any kind of any way of detecting that in the game, so we'll have to, I suppose, just keep an eye on his traction, his rear end stability through the course of the race. Meanwhile, Maxcon is quite close up to the back of Shadow now. These two seemingly quite closely matched on pace. Shadow, who has been rapid at many of the other races this season, has well, completely not been the case for him today so far here in Japan, and well, that is something that you cannot, unfortunately, expect around here. A lot of drivers are not in favour, shall we say, of this circuit. I know Leland, currently running in P7, is not... sorry, no, I think I'm getting confused with someone else here, never mind. Okay, well, yeah, Maxcon then, still closing in on Shadow, but, well, not as much anymore, because he gets a huge snap of oversteer on the exit of the chicane, and is actually, yeah, dropping back now, still just about within DRS range, but the closer battle, actually, is, well, slightly closer battle, is between Leland and Calamity for 6th and 7th place, and then Shadow just in behind, so... And Shadow, actually, yeah, he does have damage, so that explains why he is a little bit slower then, but yeah, these guys will be... I suspect in a few laps' time, towards the end of this, what is quite a short sprint race, it is only 9 laps, so I suspect in a few laps' time we might start to see these guys getting a little bit feisty. As Shadow, you can really see him struggling with the understeer through turn 7 there from that wing damage, and yeah, you can understand just how painful that would be if you've ever driven this circuit. That turn is hard enough at the best of times, and with wing damage I can only imagine how painful Sector 1 is, and Maxcon, seeing the weakness of his rival ahead of him, was looking, I thought, for a second for a move up the inside of the hairpin there, going for, well, we might see some Kobayashi style moves there, if, well, if these guys do get a little bit closer together later on in the race, but yeah. Everyone seems to be just taking it easy so far. Just, I think the main focus for the majority of the drivers here is just trying to keep everything on the track. But we do also have AJ closing up a little bit to where no, timing screen's lying, as they always love to do. The gap is actually around about the same as it was before. But hey, is Maxcon about to go for a move up the inside? Oh, he got quite close, and he might have spooked Shadow off the road there because he went deep into the corner. But Maxcon getting understeer of his own, and well, Shadow is going to live to fight another day. No visible damage for Maxcon, so I think that might have just been some kind of driver error. But no, he goes back past on the straight now then, so I wonder if maybe Shadow potentially cut the corner and got an illegal overtake there on Maxcon. I'm not too sure, but either way, he definitely let him back through. There is no way on earth that Haas is that quick in a straight line, but yeah, Shadow dropping down to 8th place, oh sorry, down to 9th place now, and not having the best of days so far, because he is now out of the point scoring positions as well. Of course, it is only the top 10 who pick up points in the sprint race, and now Maxcon immediately looking to move up and try and get himself a second point by going for a move on the AlphaTauri of Leland here. He's pretty close to the back. Of course, these two sharing the same number, as I pointed out earlier on, and well, almost going to be sharing the same piece of road soon enough, as they are still trying to, well, they are still closing up on each other. This whole field of 4 cars, well, it was 4 cars, Shadow's dropped off the back now, that damage clearly not helping him, but this field of 3 cars then, Calamity, oh, running wide there, leading Leland, and Maxcon behind, converging in, and hopefully we do get to see them go into another battle, although I have to say I hope it is a bit cleaner than the first time these three were all together on the track. That 5-way collision that we didn't even really get any time to digest is now into the final corner. Is going to go a move from both of them, actually. I think Calamity was trying to let Lemon through, but he's let Maxcon through as well, so I don't know if that was all part of the plan there, but it would be a very bizarre plan if it was. And now Maxcon is going to be immediately straight past the AlphaTauri of Leland, who does not have DRS anymore, and is going to go up the inside into turn 1 and gets the move done. Can Leland try and get a switch back up the inside? No, he's not close enough, and he's going to now be relegated. Well, he's not relegated really, he holds position in P7, but it's Maxcon and Calamity then who trade places, as Calamity, oi, almost losing it there on that curve on the inside of turn 5. It is very easy to do that, and I have to say very well held by him in the Ferrari there. Of course, he's not been racing for quite a while, so you can expect him to be a little bit rusty, and well, as I say, that running over the gravel there, so yeah, I'll leave him be to get on with his own stuff, but Shadow in the background loses it, and also Bablo, who's 50 seconds behind everyone, just cut to him for a second, he's losing it as well, and yeah, Shadow is, well, I don't think he's going to be under any kind of pressure to lose that P9, but if he did have any hope or chance of maybe getting back P8 and taking a point in this race, that seems to be all but gone now, failing any kind of mistakes from the guys ahead of him. But yeah, looking a little bit further up the field, everyone has seems to have kept it pretty clean, apart from the contact that we saw between Sippet and Phil, and I would have to guess that Sippet has some kind of damage, because he is really dropped off the back of Phil now, and it was a very hefty hit from the Aston Martin driver, and I'm very surprised that Phil didn't get any damage of his own there. He's a lucky boy to still have that front wing intact, but as I mentioned, I would not be surprised to see him pick up some kind of post-race penalty from the stewards. As we are into the final 2 laps of the race already here for this, well, call it a sprint, call it a race, I don't really know which one to be honest, but yeah, and actually AJ, well, he was closing up to the back of Aero. He's just made a little bit of a mistake there on the exit of Degner 2, and has dropped off a little bit, but he is close to Aero, so it does look like as the stint goes on, AJ seems to be ramping up the pace and is closing up to the Alpine of Aero ahead. Of course, it's 2 reserves here fighting for the lead, but that might spell for a slightly more tasty race than we've had in the sprint here, with plenty more laps for the battle to develop, so we'll have to wait and see as we ride on board with the Alfa Romeo driver now as they make their way through the final sector for the penultimate time. And Phil picks up a 3-second time penalty now of his own 4-track limits, and I wonder if that was probably on the exit of the Spoon curve. It's quite easy to do there, as getting very close to the track limits on the inside was AJ. Of course, he picked up as we said, a truckload of penalties last time out in Kota. As we head onto the final lap of the race, I'm sure AJ will be wanting to keep things as clean as he can here to make sure he's not risking losing any more places, and he does have quite a substantial gap to Saul Goodman behind him, who is putting a very solid shift, I have to say, in 3rd place at the moment. Of course, we are, as we've mentioned a few times, down on numbers today, but still a very impressive drive by him to bring his Ferrari up into 3rd place at the moment, although he is being slowly but surely reeled in by Phil. Phil will not well, I would imagine he will not have the chance to actually make the move, though, unfortunately, with this being the final lap of the race, so that battle will have to wait until the actual race kicks off in probably about 5 minutes' time now. As through the first sector, I do think that AJ seems to be quicker than Aero, so I wonder if there's potentially a bit of a difference in setup, but Aero does seem to be controlling the gap at the moment, I would say, and potentially is might be letting on a little bit more of a fight than there actually is. I wonder if he's doing a little bit of what the Red Bull's do in real life and just trying to control his pace. Meanwhile, I think we might have a battle here going on, and somebody's gone round. There is. It's Lelin. He's spun it on the exit of Degna 2, and I saw he was side by side. Well, he was side by side on the timing sheets, I would say, with I think it was with MaxCon. Oh, sorry, with Calamity, and now he's, well, backwards and dropping down to P9, so Shadow, it turns out, is going to get a point in this, in the sprint race after all, but Aero kept it clean from the start and will exit the final corner to win the sprint race here, get himself pole position for the race. AJ comes home to take a solid P2 behind him and gets the fastest lap as well, of course, no points for that in the sprint. Sol holds on to P3, and Phil will cross the line in 4th. Will that penalty relegate him to 5th, though? No, he's not close enough, his slip is, so he will have to settle for 5th, and across the line, spinning in traditional MaxCon style, is the Haas driver in P6, Calamity in 7th, and then we'll have to wait a little bit for Shadow to come through, picking up another time penalty, so actually he might not get a point after all. So Shadow across the line, and we'll have to wait for Lelin. Here he comes now. Does Lelin have more penalties of his own? No, he does not, and Lelin will indeed take the final point from Shadow, and Bablo is going to be, well, disqualified from the race apparently in P10. So that is going to be your grid order for the sprint race, and as Bablo actually, from that late disqualification, is technically going to be starting from 11th, so we'll see how the game deals with that. He might have a free grid slot ahead of him, but there we go. That is your final order for the sprint race then. Aero P1 ahead of AJ in 2nd place, Sol in 3rd, Phil in P4. After contact with Darth Sippet forcing the Red Bull driver out of the way, he will be P5, and I'm sure looking for revenge in the actual race. Waiting for the lights, here they come. You can see at the front of the field, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and we are go for the Japanese Grand Prix here in LRC. And again, it was a great start for Aero, even on hards, and a poor start for AJ again, side by side with the Ferrari of Sol into turn 1, and he is going to hold the position. He is going to stay ahead this time, but round goes Darth Sippet in the Red Bull. He spins round on the exit of turn 2, and a terrible start to the race for him already, as the field makes their way into the first sector now, and getting forced wide almost as Shadow side by side with the Alfa Romeo of Bablo here, and going to go round the outside of the Alpha Tauri and get up 2 places in one go. So great move by him there. So everyone goes through the exit of the first sector now and towards sector 2, but a spin immediately for Darth Sippet there, and he's going to drop right down to the back of the order, of course, guaranteed to still be in the points paying positions if he can finish the race. But that is not the start that he was looking for from P5 on the grid. Meanwhile, that early advantage that Aero had has immediately worn off. He got a great start, but AJ has held 2nd place, and he is now immediately using those medium tyres to get right onto the back of the Portuguese driver as they head towards Spoon Curve, and getting so close between the two of them here. We might have a battle on our hands immediately between these two. And this is going to be AJ looking to get past straight away here. Aero, I wonder if he's even going to fight it here. He knows that they are on opposing strategies. Shadow in the background making moves as well. And round the outside of 130R is going to go AJ. Going to try and make it work. He runs off the track, but he holds his foot in up the inside of the chicane and gets the move done on Aero to get into the lead of the race at the end of lap 1. But his traction isn't the best out of the final corner, so Aero might just fight it back here. He's got the ERS on, you can see on his steering wheel, but he switches it off. And I don't think Aero wants to fight this too hard. He knows that he's on that hard compound tyre and that he needs to make it last for as long as he possibly can in this race to make sure that the strategy benefit that AJ has right now is going to be offset come the end of it. But yeah, great racing at the start already, and Shadow had made a move, I think, on Calamity, but now he runs wide and almost wipes out the Alfa Romeo of Bablo, and he drops back down to 8th place now. So if he was making moves, he's lost all of that places that he gained now and drops down the order again. He's not looked good here so far, Shadow. Just doesn't seem to have the right setup on the car, and is struggling for grip once again, down in 8th place at the moment. And yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on him and see if maybe it's just a case of the cold, well, coldish tyres not helping him out, and the heavy fuel as well will not be doing him any favours. So we'll see how he gets on for the rest of the race. But it is still Sol in 3rd place from MaxCon, who had a great start up into 4th place already. and is going to be potentially looking to try and go for that P3. Of course, Sol also on the medium tyres ahead of him, so these two do not have that same kind of pace difference that Aero and AJ have, and AJ, whilst we talk about him, is extending his gap to around about a second already ahead of Aero, so good start to the race by him. That's exactly what he needed. And now here comes Maxcon. Is he going to try and make it work around the outside of the chicane? He dives it in there, and the Ferrari of Sol is going to try and hold his ground, but he's not going to be able to. And Maxcon is able to get through on the outside and stays ahead in P3, and will now be, well, is Sol going to be close enough? No, he's not. He's not got the straight line speed. And into turn 1, he's going to have to settle for P4, but no, Maxcon runs wide, across the curb, spins back onto the track, and almost takes out German Beat, but spinning anyway, it's the Ferrari of Sol Goodman, and drops all the way down the order now. He spun it on the inside curb as opposed to the outside one, and chaos kicks off at the, well, from 3rd to 5th place, all changing places. Maxcon is, well, back into P3 again. He lost it for a brief moment, but now he's back there after contact with Phil, and I wonder if Phil's got any damage, because now Calamity is up into 4th place and ahead of the Aston Martin driver as well. So chaos is ensuing again here, just like we saw in the sprint race. This time it's slightly more toned down, but still plenty of drivers' races coming coming to grief here in these early laps. And now German Beat is going to have to, or Phil, sorry, is going to have to tuck in right back behind that Ferrari of Calamity, so one Ferrari has effectively just been swapped for the other there, and yeah, it's almost like a bit of a magic trick between the two of them, and now it's not going to make any difference really to Phil. Unfortunately, he was involved in what was really Maxcon's incident there, and I have to say both of them lucky not to go all the way round. It could have been a lot worse for them there, but they are still fighting in 3rd and 5th respectively, and Calamity has just been able to capitalise on that brilliantly to get himself up into 4th on his one-off return to LRC, so good stuff by him so far. We'll see how he fares for the rest of the race, and all of this chaos has promoted Shadow back up to P6 now, so things looking up slightly for him. And Bablo up to P7 as well, so having a much nicer time of things in this actual Grand Prix race as opposed to the struggles that he was having in the sprint race, so hopefully that does continue for him. And, well, like we say, if he is able to finish the race, then he's guaranteed some points come the end, so we'll have to see. I would imagine he might be one of those drivers playing it just a little bit more conservative in this one. And yeah, he'll be looking for whatever points he can get. And now, I have to say, Calamity is looking pretty quick here at the moment in the Ferrari. He was running a little bit wide and over the grass there at a few of the corners, but his pace does not seem to be too bad, at least compared to Max gone ahead. And as Darth Zippit now going side by side with Bablo into Degner too, that is not something you see every day. Contact between the two of them, somehow they both keep it in the right direction. So impressive wheel-to-wheel racing there, but I was not expecting to see that just on the timing screens that I saw going wheel to wheel, and was not expecting that through the end of, or the start of Sector 2. These two getting the elbows out, and Bablo does stay ahead, so good defence by him, and I think Darth Zippit potentially showing a little bit of frustration with how his race has gone so far, and you have to say understandably so, getting, well, spinning out on lap 1 at turn 1. Was not exactly what he had in mind to start his race, but now Calamity right onto the back of Maxcon. I don't know if the Haas driver potentially has some damage. I'll try and get a look here. There's none on his front wing, so maybe some to the side pod or floor. There was definitely contact with him and Phil. But yeah, we'll have to see, because Calamity now is looking pretty quick in the Ferrari. He's got the DRS open. Is he going to go for the move on the inside of the Haas driver? He's not quite close enough. The straight needed to be about 100 metres longer there for the Ferrari driver, but well, it might be long enough for Darth Zippit, because he is already ahead of Bablo into turn 1 and gets the move done. Second time's the charm for him. And he is up into P7 now to continue his surge through the field in this race to try and complete whatever recovery drive he can manage today. And in all fairness, he's not too far behind in terms of actual time. And all the while, Maxcon is seemingly just holding up this pack of cars as they head through Degner 1 and 2 here. And you can see getting a little bit of a twitch of oversteer. His pace does not seem to be particularly good, at least not compared to what it was earlier on today. And he's dropping back from Aero ahead of him. Gap now to almost 4 seconds, which, considering Aero is on the hard tyres compared to Maxcon's mediums, is not great. And now, here comes Calamity, might be looking for an unorthodox move, heading in towards Spoon Corner. Is he going to try and launch it up the inside? No, not close enough to do that, but he is right up behind the Haas driver, and I think this time of asking if he can get a good exit here. And with enough ERS use, he might just be able to try and go for a move, and maybe even, is he going to look for a move through 130R? No, he's going to be patient and wait for the chicane, but is he going to dive it up the inside? We'll ride on board if he does. Maxcon blocks the inside line. I think or could sense what was coming there. We know Maxcon is a fantastic defensive driver, and he's going to hold on to P3 for now. And I'm sure he'll be deploying everything in his book to try and keep that position, but it might not be enough here, because Calamity, with the DRS open, can try and go round the outside now. Maxcon's going to, show him the exit door there and force him a little bit off the track, but all fair game between the two of them, and Maxcon again continues on in holding that P3 position, defending the inside line quite sensibly through turn 1. And keeps up his reputation, like we were saying, as a very solid and very tricky driver to actually try and get past, even with DRS, and especially around a circuit like this. It can be very, very tricky to pass here, as we know from real life races, and especially without the wet conditions at all. A little bit of a mistake from Calamity, and that is going to immediately allow Phil through there on the exit of Degner too, just getting all over the curbs with the Ferrari driver, and that is the kind of mistake that you might expect to see from someone who has not raced in quite a long time in terms of in the actual league, but he has still had some pretty fantastic pace so far, so he's not going to be out of it just yet. But Phil is now through back into P4, where he was at the start of the race. So it's took him 6 laps. To be fair, it's been quite a long 6 laps, I have to say. But he's back to where he started now. But he is quite a bit of a way behind Maxcon. That slide from Calamity has cost them both time effectively there, and now Calamity is going to try and look to get back through. I think on the Aston Martin driver, he does seem to be quick here, and all the while Shadow, well, he was closing up to the back of them, but now gets a huge snap of oversteer over the curb and is going to drop back. So it is just going to be a two-way fight here between Calamity and Phil here as they head towards turn 1. But as we ride on board, you can see that Aston Martin with the DRS open as well, and that is going to make life particularly difficult for Calamity to try and make his re-overtake here and to try and get back past the Aston Martin driver ahead of him. But yeah, these guys showing some solid pace in the race so far. Maxcon does not seem to have quite enough in the tank, or really nearly enough in the tank, to challenge the top two. They are effectively having a race of their own up at the front. Aero and AJ, and AJ doing exactly what he needs to do on those mediums at the moment, extending his gap up to 3 seconds over the Alpine driver behind him. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see. This will be quite a slow burner, I think, this battle, but come the end of the race, if this one does by some miracle go safety car free, which would be a first in this tier 1 season, then we may just see a very tasty battle for the lead come the end of this race. So yeah, keep your fingers crossed on that one. If everyone keeps it clean, that would be very entertaining. But yeah, like I say, we will have to wait and see on that. And in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on this fight for P4, 5, or P3, 4, 5 and 6 between Maxcon, Phil, Calamity and Shadow. And I think well, maybe in a few laps' time we might start to see Dalsipik closing up as well. He's not had the best pace in terms of closing the gap up to the back of Shadow in 6th, but who knows, if these guys do start fighting ahead of him, then he might just fancy himself to try and get involved, especially later on in the race. But yeah, here comes the battle once again. Calamity's a lot closer this time, actually, and he might go for it. He's going to have to go the long way round on the outside, puts a wheel in the grass, and Phil quite firmly shows him who's boss through turn 1 and holds his P4 position for the time being. It is very, very tricky to make that move work around the outside here, especially in these modern day cars. They are absolutely massive and not particularly easy to throw around, especially offline. And well, Calamity has dropped off quite a little bit now through the first sector. I wonder if there was maybe a mistake for him, but it was a great first sector for Phil, who is all over the back of the Haas driver of Maxcon ahead of him. He's really closed the gap now, seems to have found a bit of pace, and of course Phil on the hard tyres, so this would be around about when you expect that tyre advantage to start to shift towards a disadvantage for the medium runners, and we might start to see the likes of Phil and Aero making some inroads on the respective challenges in this race. And yeah, Phil will definitely be the first one to do that. Aero is still quite a way back, and I think AJ is still pulling away, so clearly got some good tyre life in that Alfa Romeo. But yeah, MaxCon not so much, and we'll see if these two are going to get feisty again. Already been contact between the two of them, albeit not directly from fighting, but German Beat will be plenty close enough to have the DRS, and a lot closer than he's been previously as they head through the chicane. And we'll have to keep an eye on Calamity and Shadow as well, because they're both right on the back of this fight here, and Calamity getting a bit of a poor exit there, so we might have two fights going towards turn 1 here. So we follow these guys, just cannot get a good camera angle down the straight, so we're going to ride on board with Phil as he heads towards turn 1, not close enough to make the move, and neither is Shadow, but Phil getting close through the exit and through turn 2. I suspect MaxCon is probably running slightly lower downforce than these guys, because through the corners Phil, even with all of that dirty air, is definitely closing up still, or at least not losing any time. And that seems to be why everyone is able to stay so close in this battle here, because of the low wings of the Haas driver of MaxCon ahead, and that is obviously making it then very difficult to actually get past him on the straight. A little bit of the Alex Albon effect from Spa last year, where people just could not get past him, and I think it's well, more than just that, it's a very common effect, especially in F1. And hopefully somebody is able to break the train sooner rather than later, and I think if even if nobody is able to, the pit stops will do that for us, so we'll maybe see things start to shake up more on strategy in this race than on the actual track, which is, I suppose, what you would expect in Suzuka, as Calamity going a little bit offline there through the entrance to Spoon Curve, and well, still Shadow not close enough to make any kind of inroads on the Ferrari ahead of him. He's holding about the same gap, all of these guys holding about the same gap realistically. And it seems like Phil seems to have dropped off the pace just a little bit on this lap. He's not as close as he was before, and he might be vulnerable now from Calamity behind him and Shadow as well. So we'll see. And of course, Phil will have DRS as well, but Calamity does seem to be potentially quicker in a straight line, but no, not close enough. And yeah, I would have to say about equal there between the two of them as they roll into turn 1. Nice camera angle there. And yeah, again, MaxCon does not look great through those first couple of corners. He always loses time there, but then over the course of the lap, I think particularly through Sector 2, starts to make it all back up again. So yeah, an interesting ebb and flow between these guys. The 4-car train still following each other around here, so making sure nobody gets lonely, although I think some of the rest of the drivers in the race might be feeling a little bit of that now. But of course the track will keep you great company here. The corners are particularly challenging with the narrowness of the circuit, and with the grass and gravel lurking around, well, everywhere to be honest, apart from on the exit of turn 1. That's basically the only place that you can, well, 130R as well, those are kind of the only places you can really get away with making mistakes. But yeah, everyone's still getting on with it, getting their heads down. And continuing on in the race as Calamity continues to struggle through Spoon, running wide again there, and doesn't look like Shadow's able to capitalise though. I don't know if he's getting checked up potentially, but not able to get through. Meanwhile, a fight going on between Leland and Bablo. Seems like I think Leland might have just gotten through there. I don't know what the order was before, but I think that was Leland making a pass to get ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver, so nicely done by him if that was the case. And then Saul Goodman still trying to catch up to the back, and now we looked away for a second and we've missed something here, because Phil has gone backwards, I think, through the chicane. I wonder, surely there must have been contact. I don't know if he potentially made a mistake just like he did in the first race. I would have to imagine so, because he is now way down, well, he's got a huge gap, and has he lost the place to Darth Sippet? No, he's not lost that place, so Sippet's still not closed up, and Phil is going to be safely in P6, but yeah, the fight's still going on between Lalan and Bablo, so Bablo fighting it back, and now Saul is indeed getting involved as well. So unfortunately we didn't get to see what happened with the first fight, but we're going to get another one here as round the outside, oh, bit of a late block there going in from Leland as they head into turn 1, and Bablo's going to try and force his way up the inside of turn 2 there, and could not find any way through. Leland again closing the door, but these three, well, mostly the two of them ahead of Saul Goodman, getting very feisty, and Saul probably just looking to keep his nose clean, see if he can capitalise on potentially a mistake for both of the cars ahead of him. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on that as, ooh, running wide there is the mistake, and now Saul is going to be straight through on the exit of turn 7, and that is exactly what he was looking for there. Bablo just dipping a wheel into the grass on the exit of the Dunlop curve, very easy to do. And yeah, that is going to cost him, and such is the nature of, well, the effective pack racing that we kind of have here. Everyone so close together. just all strung in a line, and it does mean any mistakes will be very much punished, as now our race leader AJ is into the pits for his first stop of the race, and this will be I would imagine quite a basic one onto the hard tyres. We'll keep an eye on his pit stop and see how it goes, but we also have to keep an eye on this battle here, because here comes Calamity again on MaxCon, heading towards turn 1, not close enough though to make any moves, so all will remain the same at the moment, as out of the pits now comes AJ, and he will be just behind the Aston Martin of Phil as he exits the pit lane. And I think we have a few more drivers into the pits, and Bablo round on the exit of 130R. I don't know, was there contact? Surely there must have been. Well, something's clearly gone wrong for him. He was already in last place, so I'm not sure if he maybe was trying to move, but he drops it on the exit of the corner and quite boldly opts not to come into the pit lane along with the drivers ahead of him. So Sol does indeed stop onto a set of the hards along with Darth Sippet, who is out of the pits now in P8. And yeah, so our provisional or net race leader of AJ, here he is running in P6 in the race now. He's got a little bit of a gap, so got some clean air to work with, but it is Phil on hard tyres ahead of him, so I would imagine the chances are he is going to have to actually pass that Aston Martin on the track if he wants to well, keep his hopes of winning this race alive. So potentially a little bit of a boost for Aero if he takes a look at the track map and sees that there is a green machine ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and I'm sure he'll be urging Phil on to try and put up the best defence that he possibly can. But yeah, this battle up for third place, which is now second in the race, has calmed down just a little bit, and now into the pits comes MaxCon. Is anyone going to follow him? Yes, all three are going to follow him in, and into the pit lane, Shadow smashes into the back of Calamity, and Calamity has gotten damage from that. I don't think the team are going to be able to change his front wing though. No, they're not, and that has just ruined Calamity's race. And well, did he get damage? I saw somebody definitely got damage. I don't know if it was him or Shadow, but what on earth was the Mercedes driver doing? He was just, well, sleeping on his way into the pits there, and a collision between the two of them. I would be very surprised if he didn't pick up a penalty from the game for that collision. So it doesn't seem to have cost Calamity too much. We'll see. No, he doesn't have any damage on the front wing, so I think he's gotten away with that one somehow, and it must have just been Shadow then getting the damage. I definitely saw debris flying off, but yeah, that was a very bizarre moment there from Shadow, and he has now had to, luckily for him, the game did indeed change his wing straight away, so got quite fortunate there. But that was yeah, a very bizarre incident in the pit lane, not something you often see, and he is now going to be out of the pits in P6. Meanwhile, fight going on here at the back of the field. Sorry, no, that was just Bablo in the pits now, and making his way out onto a set of hard tyres, which everyone is now on. So yeah, we have to pull up a different side of the graphic here. We can see the tyre age now, and that will show you the true strategy here. So it was AJ, Sippet and Saul Goodman who all came in a lap early, and now Aero into the pits on only lap 13. That is very, very early. I thought he'd go, well, I thought for sure he'd be going a few more laps than this, but no, Aero into the pits already. On goes a set of medium tyres, and away he goes. So Aero is going to be, well, I wonder if he's going to take potentially the race lead here, because that was a good stop for him. Drops the second, and where is AJ? There he is going past now, so no, he's not going to take the lead. But Aero is going to have quite a long way to go on the mediums. He's 14 laps, so yeah, we'll see how he gets on with that, but clearly very confident in his tyre life and is going to try and make the most of that medium compound of tyre. Clearly was not feeling those hards, and his pace wasn't the best in all fairness to him, so an early stop. And we will have to wait and see how that pans out for the rest of the race now, as the tyre advantage has now officially swung the opposite way, and I would not be surprised to see that Alfa Romeo get reeled in sometime soon, as now Bablo out of the session, and I don't think that was in the pits, but no, I don't think it was in the pits, but he's not brought out any kind of safety car, so maybe just retiring managed to find an escape road there, I don't know, but if there was an accident, no kind of safety car, so yeah, that's quite bizarre. That is what you would usually see in that circumstance. Green flag here, so I suppose we might have just gone past the accident for Bablo, whatever happened to. But either way, he is going to be out of the race and not scoring any points in the race now. So whatever has happened, it has not gone well for him. Potentially just giving up. So yeah, I don't know. I would hope not, because as we have said, any position in this race is going to be worth points. So yeah, it seems like a strange call from him, if it was that, but I would have to imagine he couldn't have been near the pit lane. We already saw him coming out the pits only about a minute earlier than that, so I don't think he'd had time to make it back round before then, so I can only assume that was some kind of accident for the driver who was in 10th place in the race. So yeah, we'll see. Potentially find out after the race on that one, but yeah. It does continue now with Phil in the lead from AJ in 2nd place, and AJ is very much reeling in, the Aston Martin driver. Of course, the tyre difference between the two, not in compound, but it is in laps, and as you can see, they're 11 laps younger tyres for AJ, so he will be much quicker, especially now that his tyres are getting themselves up to temperature, and I usually find it's around lap 5 that the hards really get into the flow. So yeah, you can immediately see the gap is coming down rapidly, and he's going to be, I would imagine, maybe even by the time they get into the start-finish straight, looking to make a move. But somebody who's already making a move is Saul, getting past Maxcon, who is, sorry, not past Maxcon, past Leland, who is back into the pits. So was that his first stop, or was that... I'm honestly not sure if that was a planned stop for Leland or not. I don't think it was, though, because he's come out so far behind. So if it was his planned stop, then there must have been a mistake on his in-lap, because he is now well behind the Ferrari of Saul Goodman ahead of him. They're on effectively opposite sides of the same sector now, and they were basically wheel to wheel on the track only a few laps ago, so clearly something has gone wrong for Leland in this race, and he is now going to be trailing the field by quite some margin down in P7, and now into the pits comes comes Phil, sorry. So AJ is not going to have to make the pass on the road. Phil is going to effectively get out of his way and strap on a set of medium tyres to go to the end of this race now. So no such risks for Phil. Just going to be playing things safe here, and yeah, on go those medium tyres. Good start for him and Aston Martin, and he will rejoin the track. In what position, we'll find out now. He's going to be in 5th place, so yeah, that spin before he came into the pits has definitely cost him plenty of time there, and you can see he is quite a long way behind the cars that he was battling earlier on, of Calamity and Maxcon, who are now restored once again into P3 and 4 in the race, albeit now on a set of hard tyres each. As we had a green flag for a second there, and I wonder if there was a spin, and there was. It was Shadow. Again, another mistake for him in the first sector. We've seen a few of those today, and he has seems to have lost it going through, I think, through turn 5 there, and he now drops. Well, he actually doesn't lose any places. He's still ahead of Lrc, who I feel like he might be in AI mode just from the way that that car is driving, but no, he runs a little bit wide there, so no. I was curious if I'd missed him disconnecting from the session, but yeah, just doesn't seem to have quite the same pace in this Grand Prix race that he had in the sprint race, so unfortunate for him, and he's got 3 seconds of time penalties to add to his woes as well. But yeah, Shadow, another mistake, and he's going to be even further behind those guys ahead of him than he already was before. But speaking of the guys ahead of him, Calamity is continuing his fight with Maxcon, as Aero sets the fastest lap of the race, so sign of his intent there, as Calamity getting a slide of oversteer on the exit, going over the curbs there, as we've seen plenty of drivers do already today, and that is going to mean he's not going to be anywhere near close enough to make the pass into turn 1, so they both run super close to the grass there on the outside, trying to take every inch of circuit. But yeah, Calamity is going to keep playing the patient game that he's already been doing, and he's going to stick behind Maxcon for the time being and just hope that he can force a mistake out of the driver who was still in title contention this time last week. But unfortunately, as we all know, that is not the case anymore, although it was, some would say, never really the case. It was only a mathematic potential, and that potential is now unfortunately gone. But we do still have the Constructors title available, as we have also a safety car out now and deployed. So, well, we're not going to get a clean race, even with only 9 cars. We have got another safety car. I don't know if there was an incident for anyone. Yeah, there was. It was Lrc, no front wing, and that is why we have a safety car out then. I wonder if that might have been... I would hazard a guess on the exit of turn 2, probably spun to the inside wall, and that has brought out the debris, a safety car now. So that is going to shake up this race, because now I think AJ is probably going to have to come into the pits then, or well, almost definitely is going to have to come into the pits, because he's on hards and Aero behind him is on mediums, and there we go. So into the pits, but what tyres will he be? Is he going to try and go bold and go on to a set of soft tyres? That would be seriously interesting if he did. And we'll see if everyone else does come into the pits as well, or who decides to stay out. We are going to get a shake-up to the order, and a drive-through penalty for Saul Goodman as well, speeding under the safety car, so that is not good for him. And third and fourth place, Maxcon and Calamity both stay out, and that is going to mean, I think AJ is going to get passed by them, is he? He's, yes he is, so just comes out the pits there, and he is going to be down in fourth place, so he is going to have traffic to get through before he can even fight Aero. So this has worked out very nicely for Aero, although, of course, we have to remember, look at that tyre life. He's already on 4-lap old mediums compared to AJ, who will be on fresh tyres. So that tyre disparity at the end of this race might just make the difference. But of course, the risk that Aero was running by going earlier onto the set of mediums is going to be greatly reduced now by the safety car, and so he is up into the lead of the race once again, as we have Sol, unfortunately, is going to have to wait to serve his drive-through. Did not come into the pits either, so I think it was only AJ, and Shadow as well, so Shadow also pit, and yeah, Sipit comes into the pits as we would expect to change his front wing, and Leland as well for another set of medium tyres. So we have an interesting mix then, only a few drivers opting to come in for the fresh tyres, and with only 9 cars left in the race, that is going to mean that things are going to be very close once the safety car does come back into the pits. But we will still have a few more minutes before that does happen, and a few more minutes of peace in the race then, because we have Aero already bunching up the field here. It might take us a little bit of a while for everyone to catch up. As you can see, there are some quite massive gaps. Shadow to Phil is, well, Shadow is miles behind, still going through Spoon Curve now, and then even further behind him, Darth Sipit, and then even further back is Leland as well. So it's a bit of a race-saving safety car for these guys. And, well, I wouldn't accuse anyone of cheating, but this is a very convenient accident for Darth Sipit as well. And I think just more of a happenstance there, getting quite fortunate with that. At his own spin that could have taken him out of the race has resulted in him getting a safety car that will get him back into the race. So good to see him at least going to be back into the fight now come the restart. But yeah, everyone slowly makes their way back around, and we can just take a quick refresh on everyone's order and tyres. So it will be at the restart, Aero on slightly used medium tyres. They won't be at their best for the remainder of the race. They'll be pretty much, well, not quite dropping off the whole way, but they'll only be good for a few laps, you'd imagine, on the restart, and then they'll start to sour ever so slightly as the tyre wear kicks in. And in that time, I think our 4th place driver AJ is going to be hoping that he's able to dispatch of the Ferrari of Calamity and the Haas of Maxcon ahead of him, and both of those drivers running fantastic races at the moment, Calamity especially making a, as we have stated, a rare one-off appearance here in LRC, and dropping in just to reserve today to make up some of the numbers, and he has done a fantastic job for what has to be said is a struggling Ferrari team. This is the Ferrari team principal, or the team representative, and he's, well, taken the reins for himself here, and well, I suppose showing his regular drivers how it's done here. So maybe they've got something to learn from the bus. I don't know. We'll see after the race. But yeah, those guys both on hard tyres, which are both fairly fresh hard tyres, but they are still hard tyres that will be very, very hard to heat up on the restart of the race, and that will make things particularly appetising for AJ. But of course, the nature of the circuit will make it very challenging. Well, you'd imagine very challenging for him to actually get past. So maybe praying for a little bit of drama is the Alfa Romeo driver as well. Then we have Phil in 5th place. He's going to have the mistake he made earlier on sort of repaid to him I suppose. The gap is now back down to 0, and he will have a chance once again to fight us. Now, the safety car in this lap declared at literally the last possible second. That has caught, well, it's caught me off guard, it's caught everyone off guard, and imagine. So Aero is going to lead the field to green then, and sticks his foot down now, and we are underway once again. Was not expecting that, and that is going to, well, everyone had just reformed, so here we go on the restart then. It's kicked in very soon into turn 1. Is everyone going to keep it clean here as we go back to green flag racing? Looks like everyone's dealt with it quite well there. It's a sudden switch on of the tyres that everyone's had to try and cope with, and now AJ's trying to look for a move on Calamity, going through the S's. Can he get his nose in up the inside of turn 6? No, he's not close enough. So, and well, all the while he's seeing that blue Alpine disappear into the distance of Aero, and he wants to get the move done. He's going to try and force his way up the inside through turn 7. That was very bold from him, and he's going to have to settle in behind now. Can he dive it up the inside of Degner too? That is very forceful from AJ there, trying to squeeze through a gap that did not exist there, something that we have seen in the past here at Suzuka does not usually end well. And now Phil running wide, dipping a wheel onto the grass into the hairpin, almost inviting Shadow up the inside, but somebody who has gone up the inside, Darth Sippet on Saul Goodman. He's going to go round the outside now as they head towards Spoon Curve and gets the move done. Meanwhile, up the order, Phil, sorry, getting very close, and now making getting very close to Shadow as they make contact, running off the track. Doesn't look like either of them got damaged, but both dropping right down the order now. Phil drops to last place, and Leland gets through on Shadow, but they're going to be side by side through 130R, and off the road is going to go Shadow there, and he's going to try and dive it back up the inside into the chicane. Everyone getting very late on the brakes there, getting sideways as well with Shadow, and cutting across the corner as well. I think there might be damage for Saul Goodman because he's straight back into the pits. I know that was for the drive-through penalty, sorry. So his race is going to be completely screwed by this, really. And well, all's finally starting to calm down after a hectic restart, and that has left AJ in P2. He did get back past MaxCon into the chicane, and he is now, well, right back where he needs to be in this race to try and chase down Aero, albeit with a 3-second time penalty and potentially a bit of a looking gap from the stewards as well, because that was a very aggressive move to get past the Ferrari of Calamity there. Just barged him out of the way effectively. Fortunately, everyone kept it going in the right direction, and no damage up at the front of the field anyway. And yeah, we'll have to see what is going on with the action further down the order. Phil now stuck behind Wellen after that contact with Shadow going through Spoon Curve. That has really not been good for him. You can see gravel just scattered all over that Aston Martin car, and he is now going to have to try and make an unplanned, unscheduled recovery drive in this race. Thankfully, the safety car has bunched everyone up for him, and is he going to try and up the inside of Spoon there? He's getting very close to Leland, so we ride on board here. He's going to try and get the better exit so he can line up a move towards 130R, and Leland getting into the gravel there on the exit. That is not where you want to be, and that is going to leave Phil poised in good position to go round the outside here. Going to be forced a long way round and into 130R. He will get the move done on the AlphaTauri driver. Nice job by him. Is Leland going to try and look up the inside? He has a look, but he's not close enough. Oh, no, he gets very close through to 1017 there. Contact between the two of them. Thankfully, everyone keeps clean there, and tempers are just about held together as yeah, is Leland going to be close enough to make a re-overtake into turn 1? Ooh, had a little luck there again, just trying to throw Phil off his game, but I think Phil knows better at this point. He's an experienced driver now in LRC, and he is able to hold on, not get scared off the road, and will stay in P7 as he continues to try and make his recovery drive. Meanwhile, Darth Sippet now back up into P5. Shadow is, well, held position in P6 effectively after his incident with Phil, and is going to be still looking to try and make his way back up the order. Meanwhile, look further up the order because we have AJ onto the back almost of Aero, so clearly that little bit of tyre difference that they have between the two of them is, well, actually quite a lot of difference, because AJ has got some rapid pace on those mediums and is reeling in Aero, our race leader, already. But look at the track limits that he's taking there. Running very, very wide, and I would honestly not be surprised if he has potentially more than the 3 seconds that the game is showing us here. So it yeah, might even if he does get the move done, it might not be over once they cross the finish line. So we'll have to yeah, keep a close eye on this battle and see how things do develop over the course of the race. And you can see just hopping the corners there, that will not be going down well for Stewards, and Aero has not had a good exit out of the final corner, and that is going to leave him vulnerable now. ERS deploying for the Alfa Romeo. They're going to be side by side. DRS as well for AJ, and into turn 1 he gets the move done, and into the race lead once again in this race is going to go the Alfa Romeo driver. So good stuff by him, but he is now going to have to extend the gap to try and hold position. Meanwhile, Shadow and Sipit almost coming close to contact there. Sipit running very wide through the exit of turn 2, so wonder if he's potentially forced off road or just got a snap of oversteer on. Either way, Shadow is now through up into P5, and well, fighting for this final podium position. Calamity and MaxCon still oh so close together with only 5 laps to go in this race. And Aero not going to give it up too easily. Well, the game was telling me he's closer than he was, and through the hairpin now he is definitely losing time to AJ. And well, I would imagine that Aero will know exactly what the penalties are, so he will be trying desperately to keep himself in whatever range he needs to do. It will not have to be on the track for him, but he will need to make sure his pace is as good as it can possibly be for the final few laps of this race. Meanwhile, we have plenty of wheel-to-wheel action, I would imagine, still to come, because Calamity looking closer than ever to the Haas of MaxCon ahead of him. MaxCon still ever quicker in a straight line than the Ferrari, and through 130R they go, heading towards the final chicane, and you can see Calamity just closes up under braking through this second part of the corner. Needs to get a good exit through here. Quite hard to get the power down with good traction, but Calamity seems okay through there. He will have the DRS. You can see the ERS deployed on the steering wheel. He's gaining, and MaxCon's going to block the inside. Calamity's going to look to the outside, but not close enough to make anything work. And yeah, this is effectively being the story of the race for the Ferrari driver. Stuck in the DRS zone, being towed around by MaxCon, but just cannot find a way through on the Haas driver. And unfortunately that plague is going to affect Shadow as well, because he's going to be right back where he was before in the DRS train at all. Huge snap of oversteer for Calamity. Shadow's going to try and get through on the outside now, but has to go wheels into the grass there to try and see if he could get through, and yeah, had to come off the throttle there. If he stayed on it, he would have been absolutely going round for a loop there, but sensibly does back out. And yeah, I think the driver's starting to get just a little bit desperate here with only a few laps to go in the race. Of course, everyone has to remember they are, well, as long as they keep all 4 wheels on the kart, they will still be scoring points today. So that is definitely going to be a bit of a motivator, I think, because yeah, there's not too much to lose, or not as much to lose as usually would be for some of the drivers, so we'll have to see if anyone does go for some potentially more daring moves than we might usually expect, as Shadow now closer to Calamity than he is to MaxCon ahead of him, and Aero still not dropping back from AJ, so he's keeping the fight alive, and he's staying within DRS. That's the crucial thing, I think, for Aero, just to try and get towed around the track, much like Calamity is just behind him. Try and get towed around the track by the Alfa Romeo ahead. He knows that he won't have to pass him as long as he stays on the racetrack with all 4 tyres, and he will be, if he can do that and stay within DRS range, he will be crowned the victor of this race. But there is still 2.5 laps to go, and well, anyone who's watched Lrc Tier 1 races before knows that that means, well, just about anything can happen. So we will wait eagerly for that anything to kick off, because we have Calamity still, as we have said, all over the back of the Haas driver of MaxCon. He's once again closed that gap up now through the first sector, as he's done on pretty much every lap of the race. MaxCon clearly running lower wings, and that is not helping him through the first sector, but it is being a massive assistance to him on the straights, as Calamity getting another twitch of oversteer. It's not the stablest of cars, that Ferrari, at the moment, but he is definitely still quick. But the question really is it quick enough to try and take that P3 away from the Haas driver of MaxCon ahead of him, or is it even quick enough to hold on to P4? Because Shadow all over the back now as they head towards Spoon. Is he going to be able to try and go for a move? And Calamity again running wide there, as he's done time and again in this race, and Shadow is, I think, looking quite feisty here on the back of the Ferrari driver. You can see Calamity very low on battery, so, well, I suppose Shadow is also very low on battery. All of the drivers struggling a little bit here. I think they were probably hoping for more of that safety car time, but it's not going to come to them, and Shadow is going to try and force his way around the outside, getting the elbows out there. Calamity into the braking zone, puts up a stern defence, and Shadow has to cut across the corner, and it's now going to be vulnerable to Darth Sipit, who's going to go round the outside of him. Not going to have DRS though, so down the start-finish straight, I would expect Shadow to hold the position position, and he will, but with potentially slightly dirty tyres into turn 1, is he going to hold the place? Looks like he is. So, well, I'm getting very frantic for a second, but everything stays as it was before. Status quo is maintained in this in the race at the moment, and Leyland now back into the pits, and Saul Goodman as well. So I think there potentially might have been a collision between the two. I'm not sure how close they were on the track, but either way, those guys' race is not going much further, and not going any further is Darth Sippet, who spins it on the exit of turn 7 now. It's, well, a miracle that nobody had done it before in the race, and looping it round, trying to get off the grass, is the Red Bull driver now with no front wing for the second time in this race, and no time for any safety cars now, so he will not have another chance to recover, and his race is, well, as good as done with only a few laps to go. Phil, sorry, now up into P6 in the Aston Martin, and Shadow is still trying to close up to the back of Calamity ahead of him, but not able to get through, and neither is Calamity able to get through on Maxcon, who I think, if he can well, if he can do what he's done for 26 laps, for one more lap at the end of this, then he will be able to hold on and take what would be a very hard fought and well-earned podium position here ahead of the Ferrari driver as we head on to the final lap of the race now. It is started by AJ. He's 2 seconds clear of Aero, but he needs at least 3. No, he needs 6, because he's picked up another penalty, and that's why Aero's dropped off then. He knows he doesn't need to fight it, so Aero just has to keep everything clean and tidy here for this final lap, and if he can, well, if he can do that, then the race win is as good as his. AJ is going to be pushing like a madman, just like he was this time last week, to try and get as far away from that Alpine as he can, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him. So we'll keep a close eye on that one, but we have the battle still going on here, but it seems to have spread out a little bit, so I think the positions might just be staying as they are on this final lap of the race now. Calamity, again, running a little bit wide. We'll have to see if there's any late mistakes. We already saw one from Darth Sippet just this time last lap, and we'll see if everyone's able to keep it clean here. I suspect now on this final lap of the race, everyone's probably just prioritising securing whatever position they can, unless somebody is, well, potentially got other ideas and wants to get any last grab points that they can possibly find. And yeah, it will be points for everyone in this race, but now the final the final driver of Saul Goodman is going to start his final lap of the race. No lap cars today, but it is going to be AJ leading them through, but Aero still well within the gap behind him, and is more than close enough to snatch this race win away from AJ. So it's going to be just as it was last week. Through the final corner will come AJ in the lead, and he exits the final turn now to take the checkered flag, but it won't be good enough because Aero comes through to take the win here in Suzuka in the Tier 1 race. Great stuff by him to take a hard-fought win, and Maxcon, an even harder-fought P3, just about holds on from Calamity over the line, who takes a brilliant P4 on his return to LRC. Shadow has to settle for actually P6 because he had penalties too. So Phil, in the end of things, is going to get himself back into the top 5, and Shadow, yeah, drops down the order. P6 for him. Darth Sippet stayed out with his wing damage, which clearly was the right thing to do because it is going to drag that Red Bull home for P7 in this race. Still some solid points here today. And the final 2 drivers will be Leyland and Saul Goodman, making their way through for the last 2 positions, 8th and 9th. 4 points for Leyland and 2 points for Saul Goodman, and you have to feel for Saul. It's a race of what could have been today, starting from 3rd place on the grid, but just all unravelled from that turn 2 spin, and it will only be 2 points for him as he crosses the finish line now. But it will be then Aero who takes the win in today's race. It was 2nd place over the line, but with the penalties kept it clean, did what AJ couldn't do for the 2nd race in a row, and he takes victory here in Japan for his first Tier 1 win of this season. Even as a reserve, Aero, our Tier 2 champion, showing his dominance once again, and shows his class in Tier 1 to take a very, very well-earned race victory from AJ, who still is able to, at least this time, hang on to a respectable P2 position ahead of Maxcon, who puts up a great defence, as he so often does, and this time is rewarded with a very valiant P3.